Well, I guess we can get started. Does anybody have any questions? I guess. Yeah, that'd be just you, Quincy.
Oh,
We have
first
me
thing
too.
come up on the forum?
I don't know. Let me look. I think they've all been addressed. Joe, did you responded to the person who wanted to convert HDF4 to HDF5? Is that right? We can't hear you, Joe.
Sorry.
I think that's the most recent one. There's been a lot of zlib issues with CMake that we're trying to address. A lot of issues for at least we decided to move the 2.0 to September, and then in the
I didn't
meantime,
get that. Try again.
Huh?
That was my computer talking. Sorry. I'll mute myself.
that we decided to move 2.0 to later, early fall, and then we're gonna have a 114.6 that just has some fixes that something went in 114.5 that broke some of the Python.
The Windows thing? Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to revert that and have it so they can keep packaging HDF5 without any issues. So we're reverting that one just for the 114.6. And then some of the zlib stuff, we plan to put that in, but that's it. And then after that, just put our efforts into 2.0. But it's really holding the Python people back having that issue because I think they're stuck at 114.4, but they really needed some features. I think some memory fixes in 114.5. So they want that without the other thing that we put in 114.5. It would be nice to somehow address the Windows, the UTF-8 issues, which might be a good thing for 2.0. I think eventually, I think the issue is we passed char star, right? I think that's my understanding of it. And that it should probably not be when we did store file names and stuff like that. Or yeah, instead we should just give it a length and the character, I think. That's the solution.
Details on this one.
Pardon?
So I really don't know the details on this one.
Yeah. But every once in a while we get the UTF-8 issue, so it'd be nice to be able to address it at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so 114.6 should be out either this week or next week, early next week, so they can do their progression and then 2.0 later. So we've updated the release information in the README. But we haven't announced it yet, I don't think, officially. Let me go to the forum real quick.
Greg joined too. Do you have any questions, Greg? Or you don't have to unmute and talk, but feel free to jump in with questions.
No, nothing. Just here to listen.
Yeah, I didn't have anything prepared, as mentioned, anything prepared for this meeting, so mostly just Q&A again. I think, although we just released the newest CGNS release, but Stephen brought up that we might have had to push that version to 5 because we added particles and that might have broken forward compatibility, which we assume that forward compatibility is valid for within the minor releases and breaks forward compatibility for the newer releases. I think it's fine because it was added to zone level, but I think if it's just particles in the zones and has nothing else, I'm not sure if the older version of CGNS is gonna be able to read that. So I guess we'll talk about it at the committee meeting.
Yeah, it'd be nice to figure out some better, because once we're having problems with, we write with 4 and then these apps that have not yet upgraded since 3 are not saying they can't read the file, even though we're not using any of the, I think it was the, arbitrary polyhedra thing is what the only thing that changed from 3 to 4, or the main thing that changed from 3 to 4. And so we kludged the version to, instead of putting out 4 something, we put out 3.99 just so we can get our files to be able to be read by older visualizers and things like that. So it'd be nice for CGNS to come up with some better way of handling version compatibility on read and write, but I don't know what the answer is there.
So CGNS, I guess, it checks to see if, I mean, why wouldn't it be able to read the 4? Is it actually time stamped to say this is a newer file, so I can't read it? Because I thought,
There's a check in the CGNS library itself that says the major version has changed, so I can't read this file.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah, we should address that. Because there's no reason that it might be, well, I don't know how to address that, because I mean, technically it shouldn't be able to read it, because that's why you bumped up the minor or the major version.
Right. Yeah, and
Hmm.
that in any change you make is going to be in a current version of the library, and if the app itself isn't updating, you'd have to kind of do a patch release on older versions and get the older clients to move at least to that. And if they're going to move to that, why don't they move to 4, I guess? So it's we're kludging it for sure by saying we know we're not writing anything that a client using the version 3 of the library can't read. We know we're not writing that arbitrary polyhedra, so we're going to just fake our version and say we're writing a version 3 file instead of a version 4 file. So
Yeah, I guess
actually, yeah.
we should just introduce an API like we did in HDF5 that said, this is the version I want to ignore. Yeah, I guess actually just need an API, just ignore the version. Just say, yeah, I know what I'm doing. And then just ignore that
Yeah.
that shouldn't be able to be read by, or should be able to be read by older versions.
I thought I knew what I was doing. So.
That's what I was thinking.
That's always dangerous.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty much an oops setting.
Yeah.
But I have to check to see if, we don't really test, we don't do a good job about writing an older file and then making sure it's forward compatibility within. I didn't write like a file that had just particles and then try to read it with an older version to see if it fails. I mean, it won't understand it, but I don't know, which may be okay. I don't know if that's technically forward compatibility, that it can't handle new functionality, but I don't want it to crash or stop reading it. So yeah, I don't know, I'll have to check. So we
Right.
might have to release a 5.0. I don't know how to handle it. You can't really revert as something that's been, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
we'll have to discuss it next meeting. But
Yeah, I think our big issue was point-wise is at 3, they're still on version 3 of the library, and we had moved up to 4, even though we weren't using the arbitrary polyhedra change. We were using some of the other issue or improvements in 4, but then now our files couldn't be read by pointwise, and so
oh, okay.
like I said, and I think, I don't know about Pairview, I don't know what version they're running, so.
I mean, technically, there's no reason to not, I mean, since it's backward compatible, there shouldn't be any issues with going to newer versions. So I assume that the newer readers, the visualization packages are all on the newest version, but I don't know.
Yes, I
Yeah.
don't know either.
But yeah, just a side note for CGNS.
Do what other apps do people use for visualizing CGNS data.
I mean, anything that they want. I mean, tech plots on the committee, so they do it. Pair view, visit. I mean, all the free ones, of course, but I think paid ones. I guess I think Insight also. I mean, they all support CGNS, so it's just whatever the company or the government,
Yeah.
who's ever, yeah, whatever they're comfortable with using.
Yeah, and I think point wise, I don't remember if they're using it to visualize or whether they were trying to pull in a mesh and then modify it. Or I think point wise will actually do visualization also, but it's commercial. And then we use pair view a lot. We use Insight.
What's the company for Pointwise? I'm trying to look them up.
I don't remember. It was, I think they got point bought out recently.
A whole bunch of aggregation. Yeah.
Did tech plot by them?
I don't know if it's Cadence or is that, I don't know.
Reminds me if it was Cadence or like Ansys. There is something that comes up. Oh, there it is. So it'll be Cadence. Yeah. It says pointwise.com redirects into Cadence now, I think.
Okay.
Oh, well, I had a question, but so with NetCDF, do they put in subfiling feature into NetCDF? Do you know, Greg?
I don't think they have it yet, but I think there was some talk about it, but I don't think it was in their latest release. But
Okay. Do you know who's the driving funding source for NetCDF? Is it basically the same as CGNS, or is it an actual agency behind NetCDF that supports it?
UCAR is or
Supporting.
Unidata UCAR is the main, so it's used mainly in the like climate modeling areas. And then, so I think that's who funds some of them. And then Ed Hartnett he's now working for somebody different, but then he gets some funding that he uses for, and still does some NetCDF development.
Okay. Any other discussion topics people want to bring up? We do plan to do something with the working group meeting again, but we just haven't decided how that's going to form yet. So just stay tuned, give us patience, transition, and then we plan to start something up with the working group, the community involvement with the HDF5. We just haven't got around to figuring out how it's going to all work together and stuff. So
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Super.
yeah, and I think Data's talked about this in the past, that we plan to kind of do away with the RFC notion and then go more to the extension like PEP does, and extend it. So it's just another name, but then have people involved, reviewing those more than just us. So we want to really start to get the community involved with extensions of the library. So we plan to outline and Alexander really wants to kind of promote certain ways of doing things. So for example, if you're going to do a table in HDF5, he's kind of envisioning that we'd have like maybe an extension that would say, this is the way you should do a table if you're doing it this way, this is the recommended procedure of how to do a table, implement a table, for example, in HDF5.
Yeah, we need some standard recipes.
Yep. So that's his vision as well, to have the means that say, hey, if you're doing it this way, then you should do it using this or that. Whether we follow it up by software, I mean, because the high level libraries kind of do that now, but it's not, it's not extendable. It's pretty fixed, right? If you can only do what I mean, it doesn't even work in parallel, right? So
Mhm.
it's kind of, I think it's the same concept of what the high level libraries is supposed to do, make it easier, but to make, I mean, obviously, like, for example, make a table or read an image or something like that, but I think it's more canonical now. We want to say this is what we recommend doing. And then maybe we'd have software to back that up. I don't know. I guess it'd be part of this extension. But yeah, that was another aspect. So one would be extensions to add a feature or a major feature to library. And then another one would be to add like a standard that people that are using the library can pull from. So that's where in this, so how do we, govern that type of
Mhm.
extension? So that's what we're trying to work out. Okay, any other discussion points? Okay, I guess Lori, I guess we might have an RFC presented at the next meeting. We're working on assigning the filters. So say you have a filter and you download it and you can sign it. The filter plugin developer can sign the plugin, and then you can enable, the goal is to enable the in HDF5, say I only want to use plugins that have been signed. And if they're not signed, then you can't use them. So we kind of want to secure the pipeline for the filters. And so we're working on RFC with Quincy and Seren from Ohio State. And we hopefully have that by next Tuesday that we can present to call the doctor. If we don't, then it'll be Garrett. But we're planning for now to be able to present that.
It'd be interesting to get Greg's opinion on it, though.
Yeah, Greg, is that something that would be interesting? So essentially you'd have to have you'd have a secured filter and you'd have to kind of reach out to verify that plugin I mean, would that be a problem on your type of systems that you'd have to verify externally that this plugin signature is valid?
It definitely wouldn't work on the classified side, if it had to go any communication. And then on we call it the SRN restricted network, it would, you'd have to respect like the proxy settings and things like that to be able to get to certain external sites. And it would, yeah, I don't know if it would. Yeah, I'd have to think about that, whether people would be worried that, your software is, I think there would definitely be, it would change the scrutiny that HDF5 library gets if it starts communicating externally during runs. I guess there's certain software quality, or not quality checks, but just checks that have to go through our software, and one of the questions you say yes or no on is there external communication during runtime or something like that. And so if that's required, that would maybe change a little bit on the ease of getting approval for running new versions of the library.
Do you think it's necessary for your environment? I mean, this is like if somebody wants to use a new vol plugin or a filter or any one of the, pluggable things in HDF5, we've been trying to pay attention to the software supply chain issues where you don't just grab some random thing that could be manipulated and you didn't know. So we want to put signatures on them that says, you know what, this is the official version of this thing. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree that some sort of, this is approved by the HDF5 group or, some kind of tag on it that says this is something that's been looked at and is not just some random software you're pulling off the internet would be nice. I don't know if at what level it needs to be checked. If it's like we check it at the time that we decide to make it available, or whether it's checked at runtime or something like that. The runtime check would definitely be more difficult, and I don't know how much extra use that would bring over just being able to pull, from a known repository versus this is a general, we've had software in the past where it's like this is officially installed by people that know what they're doing versus this is just user contributed software and
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe there could be like a some kind of package JSON file, even whatever, something simple that says from the HDF group that says these are all the official ones we know about. And even if they didn't provide them all, they would at least say they've been registered. Here's the signature for the version. If you go out and get it, just to not put the total burden on the small nonprofit.
right. Yeah.
Like we'd have to maybe work with the facilities, right? Because I assume that some of those filters, you might just load a module, and there's no reason why we couldn't, as part of that module load, kind of provide us the signature.
Yep, right, sure.
Yeah. And then it wouldn't have to talk to the outside world. It'd be just,
Right.
yeah. And how does the policy, for example, bit chain on your type of systems, is that feasible to, if for example, if the trusted source was a bit chain, is that
A blockchain.
blockchain? Sorry, yeah, blockchain. Is that feasible in your type of system to do blockchain lookups or inquiries?
I off the top of my head, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we were, at least I had suggested, but I don't know how feasible and practical it is. Put a little digital contract or the signature in some public blockchain, maybe the Bitcoin one, but so that there wasn't a centralized place for it and no one had the requirement of hosting a server.
Right.
It's just globally pervasive, available.
But I
Yeah,
assume
I don't
my
know.
system, that's probably a no-go. I'd assume that, yeah, you don't have any outside network, so you'd have to be local, I guess. But yeah,
It's probably no different than other networking access, but I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I want to address that in the RFC, that, I mean, some systems just won't have access to the outside world, that this might be important for, so. Okay, yeah, so we'll talk more about it at the next Call the Doctor, hopefully. If not, we'll have Garrett, but we'll let you know either way. All right, I guess we're done. Anything else, Lori? Are you there?
Nope, that's it. We can go ahead and wrap up, and we should have something back again next week.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.